Welcome to Frankly Speaking Hurricanes Football with your host, Frank Mazdu. Everybody, welcome to Frankly Speaking Hurricanes Football or Canes Football. I've got a brother, Robert, from Be a Cane, cousin Robert Powell, who's on the other line, and he's been watching Hurricane football for, I don't know, Robert, what, 30 years?
Well, actually,
you graduated from the University
yeah.
of Time. So
Yeah.
How long have you been watching it?
Oh, geez. I started there in 79. Started following the Canes right around the 80 time frame. So 79, 80 time frame, following the Canes. So was that 41 years? You believe that?
No, I don't believe that. But I do. But it's amazing because you were privileged while you were there to witness the first national championship game.
Yes.
Okay, and I think you got to experience a couple others while you were there, right? When you were there, how many did you have while you were going to school?
Well, geez, I came out in 84, so the 84 one, or the 83 184, witnessed that one. Then I was gone after that, but got to witness and watch and attend. Was at the last one, 2001 in Pasadena. When we have time, I'll share that story of how I had tickets and I lost them and I got another pair, but that's a whole nother story.
Oh, wow.
But yes, had opportunity to witness many of those games, follow the Canes many years, season ticket holder for many years. So, but yeah, fun times.
Well, here's an interesting point that you may not have thought of. I know I didn't realize it till now. According to experts, at MIT and other universities, if you spend 10,000 hours doing something, you basically become an expert at whatever it is you were doing or whatever it is you're witnessing. So I can guarantee you that you've got over 10,000 hours of watching Hurricane college football and watching football in general. So that makes you an expert in football. And you and I share that because we have a passion for the Canes and for the Dolphins, and you for Denver. So so that is awesome. So what I wanted to do today is I just wanted to go over some information about the upcoming Alabama game. We've been doing some research and checking back and forth, and I've got some things that I want to share on my screen with you. Here we go. Okay, this one was kind of a shocker to me because we're doing an analysis about Alabama. You'll see here number 77. That's the ranking that we have in college football for our offensive line going into the 2021 season. So we're ranked 77th. Yeah, Florida, by the way, is ranked just ahead of us. I don't know if you can see it at 76.
Yeah, I see that.
So, now I think we're a lot better than that now that we have all the players healthy, with a few exceptions. I do, but this is just to show us the size of the task up against Alabama. And in that particular, the reason they gave us that ranking is they said that we had been without left guard Navon Donaldson, and he was the best blocker. He's going to be back full strength this year. And I think that's where they based that. But I wanted to touch base on that because that's something. Any thoughts on the offensive line and what we're up against with Alabama?
That article, what's the date on that?
Hang on a minute. Let me see that. That's coming off of last season.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
okay, so it was coming off.
Yeah, because we don't have anything for this season, but that's based on past performance, and that's all we can gauge. By the way, there is going to be a new starter at right tackle, and that's Jarrett Williams, and he's going to replace Skife. And there's a big difference in the size. Jarrett Williams is 6'6", Skife is 6'3", but they're both about 310. So the left tackle will be 6'5", and the right tackle will be 6'6", and both over 300. So that's going to be a good thing. But I just wanted to make mention of that. But that's based on last year's. And what are your thoughts about our O-line matching up with Alabama?
Well, folks have spoken about Alabama kind of losing a lot of talent, but they just kind of reload. but their defense apparently has stayed intact. So most of what they've lost has been on the offensive side of the ball, and the defense is expected to be the strongest of all their units. So with that being said, our offensive line, our offense is going to have the test. That's going to be the test. What's in our favor is that our offensive line is fairly experienced. We haven't had an experienced offensive line in some time. So we have some good experience, but I do believe that they're running with a freshman on the offensive side of the ball. I cannot remember his name, but and I think that that's just due to a couple of folks that may be out. Frank, do you remember his name? You were sharing that with me the other night.
Oh, the two freshmen on the Alabama offensive line.
No, on the Miami side.
Oh, Jalen Rivers.
Jalen Rivers.
Jalen Rivers, but Jalen Rivers is 6'6", 330 pounds, and he's going to be playing left guard. I'm sorry, it's either I think it's left guard, and he is the second largest player on the offensive line next to Donaldson, who's 6'6", 350.
Yeah. His measurables are fairly impressive. My concern is, and we've talked about this over the years, Frankie, and that is durability and coming up, playing high school ball last year and playing in the trenches against what would be considered some grown men. I just don't think that as a freshman, your body is ready. So his size and all those things, I don't know anything about his techniques, but he's going to be challenged. And to come right out of the gate, there's no doubt that they're going to coach against him. When Alabama comes out, they're going to find a freshman on the line. They're going to try to confuse him, all kind of blitz packages. And do you know the stats of the player across from him?
Yeah,
on Alabama.
Let me get you a little bit of a background on that too. Let me bring this up. That you bring up a good point. Now, this is Jalen over here, but one of the things is Jalali Clark. To your point, Jalali Clark was supposed to. That's Jalen Rivers right up there. Was supposed to be the starting left guard, but he was injured. However, let me preface that with saying that he may be back in time for the game, and I think they may split reps. But he was pushing Jalali Clark for the position before he got injured. So they're very high on this young man here. And he was a four-star, highly recruited four-star. As a matter of fact, he had an offer from Alabama, and he chose not to take it. So he is 6'5", 325, and he's going to be going up against, well, they're playing a 3-4, Robert, and you're going to see like with Ray, who's the defensive end there he is, LeBrian Ray. Get a load of this, Robert. This really blew me away. Their defensive ends are 295 pounds and 6'4" and 6'5" at the ends. 295. Their nose guard, because they play a 3-4, is 300 pounds. But their ends, you talk about setting the edge, and then remember how that is a major deal. We had a problem with that last year on our defensive side of the ball.
Yep.
So I apologize for the dog in the background. I hope it doesn't come through too much.
That's all right. Life must continue.
So anyway, this guy right here, Jalali, is 6'5", 295 pounds as DN, and he's going to be one of the DNs. The other one's 285. Getting back to your comment about Clark, and we'll look over here. I mean, Jalen Rivers. Here it is, 0 starts, 325. Now, on the Alabama side of the ball, on the offensive side, they've got Latham, who's a true freshman, who's a right tackle. Their right tackle has 0 starts, but he's a 5-star, and he's 6'6", 325.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
But he's got 0 starts.
Yeah.
Robert, he's got no starts. And then
what year is he again?
True freshman.
Wow.
True freshman. And then I'll give you another one. The left guard, Javion Cohen, is 325, 6'4". They have a serious concern at that guard spot. Now, to your point, with Rivers, we have a big problem there because they like to blitz those four linebackers up the middle. They like to go through the guards, between the guard and the center, split the gaps. And if he's not tight, D'Eriq King's going to have a rough go of it. Those linebackers, and I want to share this with you, Robert, because this impressed me, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it. They have four linebackers. Their Jack linebacker is 6'4", 235. He's a 4-star with 13 starts. The Will linebacker is 6'2", 232. He's got 26 starts. The Mike, and by the way, their best linebacker is, I believe, Harris. No, not Harris, Anderson. And that may not even be true because they picked up a transfer in Tutu Henry, who came from Tennessee, who was a highly regarded 4-star, who's a tremendous player, who's got over 24 starts under his belt, and he's 6'2", 228. And then, I'm sorry, Christopher Allen, that's their best. He's got 33 games. He's a redshirt freshman. Christopher Allen, that's their best linebacker. He's 6'4", 242, Robert. 6'4", and those are the guys that they send off the edge to rush. Those are their blitzers. What are your thoughts on that, and how are you going to handle that?
Well, I think that those guys are really linemen from the standpoint of because they play that type of defense where they only have 3 down linemen and the rest are linebackers. So then they want the size on them to be able to take on the blocks from the offensive linemen when they're coming up, but yet they want them nimble and fast enough to cause havoc when they're blitzing. They also can pick up and cover running backs coming out of the backfield, and they're long, so they can cover in the short, game. And the way that you play against that is that you got to get rid of that ball quickly because they're going to be blitzing like crazy, and they're going to pick on that freshman. So that our running backs going to have to be able to block, and you're talking about these running backs basically have to block linemen. When that 6'4", 242 is coming in, the only thing you can do is take his legs out from under him because he's going to bull rush, create havoc in the backfield. So that's going to be very, very interesting because it's not going to be a hat on hat, right? It's not going to be lineman on lineman. They're going to be running stunts. They're going to be running, dropping back linebackers. They're going to have 2 or 3 blitzing at the same time. They're going to have the hesitation of blitzes. So they stand up those linebackers to create havoc, right? And they're covering the middle of the field. So it's going to be interesting to see how Miami game plan against that. What you're hoping is that you can establish a run game, which is tough, right? Because those guys are shooting the gaps. They're shooting the gaps. Swing passes may work. You definitely gonna have to be able to get downfield with your receivers. So it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be very, very interesting. Our strength is gonna be against their strength, as far as I see it. I think our offense is our strongest unit, and I think their defense is their stronger unit. So
I couldn't agree with you more.
Those are my initial thoughts.
No, Robert, I think that you nailed it. The thing that I feel good about is that D'Eriq King is back. So as far as confusing D'Eriq King with run blitzes and passing blitzes and the linebackers moving around, he's got enough of a football IQ because he's a 6-year player. Which, by the way, an interesting thing is I believe that there's three or four of the linemen that we have are all over 4 years of actual playing time. So we've got a couple 5-year and 6-year players, so they've seen a lot. So I think that kind of gives them at least equal footing. Then it's about athleticism and about physical skills and matching up. And I agree with you. I think it's going to be a real test. And I think that the only way you can really be effective is you have to make them basically cover the whole field by taking the backs out of the backfield, like you were saying, and making those linebackers run sideline to sideline, spreading them out, and also getting Will Mallory heavily involved. And I think that with the new kid, Arroyo, coming in, who's 6'4", 235 or 245, and quicker than Mallory, I think we may see a lot of double tight end sets at the beginning to see if they can wear these guys down. The other thing that I've been hearing, I don't know if it's going to pan out, they've been talking about the new kid, the running back, the true freshman, that they're talking about possibly him seeing some game action. What's his name? Franklin. Because he's 240 pounds. And
is he really 240 pounds?
He's 6'2", 240 as a freshman. And I got news for you too. The other kid from Tennessee is 235 pounds. So
what's his name? Cody, is it Cody Brown or something?
Cody Brown, that's correct.
Yeah,
Cody Brown.
Okay.
So they're talking about dropping the hammer with those two guys. The question is, how much can you use them, because they don't know the playbook, and they've got to pick up blitzes and stuff. If you bring them in, it's strictly for snap the ball and hand it to them. And then they also said that Cam Harris is looking fantastic. By the way, Cam Harris apparently has resculpted his body. He's a lot quicker, and he's created some separation between him and the Rooster. Okay. So they're looking at that as well. And Chaney is making his way back, but he's not there yet. Physically, he's not there yet. So it's going to be a really interesting matchup to see what happens. But we've got a seasoned offensive line, and we've got depth, so they can keep throwing that. But so does Alabama. Mm-hmm. Alabama has a lot of depth. Now, in talking and watching some of the videos on Alabama, their concern is with Jobe, the cornerback, who's going to be their main corner, who's replacing Patrick Surtain as the main guy. He was playing along with Patrick Surtain. But I'm going to share with you what I think could be the people that they go after. On Miami side of the ball, the people I think Alabama's going to target are highlighted in yellow. Jalen Rivers, like you were talking about. I think Zach McCloud at D end. I didn't see a lot at linebacker. I don't know if you share the same feeling, but he's got to prove it to me at defensive end. And because he's got to prove it to me, I think Alabama's going to target him because he's got to set the edge. Alabama's going to move him out. And then I think Corey Flagg at middle linebacker. He got beat badly. I mean, a lot of missed tackles last year. He wasn't physically imposing. And then DJ Ivey, because they're not going to go at Stevenson. Stevenson's going to be your lockdown corner. And Stevenson's going to be taking on John Mechie, who's a wide receiver for Alabama, who's the third player. So at least they'll be able to take him out. But what are your thoughts on that, on those three?
Yeah. I would agree that those will be your weak links, and it'll be packages built for those individuals simply because of their experience or lack thereof. There's no doubt in my mind that that's who they're going to go after and create confusion at those weak points. I just believe that there is also this element of the coaching side of things, right? I know that people are going to kind of disagree with this. I think on a talent size, I think we're just as talented. I believe that we're just as talented as Alabama. And I think where the Delta comes in is the coaching, the leadership, the amount of time that the head coach has been there, the systems that they have in place, the recruiting. They know who they're going after. They know why they're going after them. I think Manny is going to have his hands full. The good news is that he's going to have Lashley and a couple other guys who have some experience playing in big games, and it's going to be coaching by committee. And I believe that's the only way they can get through the inexperience in coaching. And let's just face it, Alabama, has played in a lot of big games. I mean, this is what they do. But talent-wise, I believe we're as talented as Alabama is. Not a lot of people talking about the coaching or the difference in coaching, but I think Manny is going to have to coach very aggressive. He cannot be conservative. I think that you're going to see a lot of fourth down calls, because the more time that they have the ball, the more opportunities, the greater the chances of them scoring. They cannot play a conventional game. Okay, you're 4th and 2, at the 40, on our 40, just on our side of the 50, maybe slightly over the 50. I think they got to go for it. Sounds crazy, but I think that 4th and 2, 4th and 1, you cannot be punting the ball off unless you're deep in your own territory. Otherwise, you got to go for it. I mean, that's what I mean by going aggressive. If it's a choice between a field goal or a touchdown, like in that which game? Like in that North Carolina State game last year, where they got backed up and they chose to go with a field goal, you got to go for a touchdown. You got to go for touchdowns. And I don't think anyone will fault him for that. I think it's going to come down to the decisions that's going to be made. Are they going to be conservative or are they going to be aggressive? Those are my thoughts.
Robert, those are exceptional thoughts. You couldn't have said it any better. I couldn't agree with you more. The one silver lining, for what it's worth, and I preface that for what it's worth, because we'll see, is Alabama has had a history recently of struggling with dual threat quarterbacks that can move. And so with D'Eriq King being able to move, and he's looking phenomenal in practice as far as actually running. So if D'Eriq King can get out of the pocket, can make a couple running plays, I think that's going to create some concern for them. And on the flip side, I got to tell you, I didn't realize this, but Bryce Young is a small quarterback. I don't know if you know that. He's very
small. He's very small.
Yeah, I had no idea.
I don't even think he's 6 foot, and I don't think he's touching 200 at all. I think it's like 175, 180.
And if he gets hit, and he gets hit a lot, I think it could impact him dramatically. So that's one of the concerns that they've got to be having. Now, I don't know that we have the people. I don't know that we have the players that can put that kind of pressure without bringing some of the linebackers. The defensive ends, we just don't know. It's. I mean, we could be surprised. The kid from Tennessee is a good player. DeAndre Johnson is supposed to be an edge guy that's supposed to be, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll have to see what happens, and we'll just have to see how it pans out. But
they're going to have to blitz. There's no way out of that.
I agree.
I talked about coaching aggressively. You're going to blitz from all angles, from every. You got to keep the quarterback guessing. And that's what I mean by taking chances. If you got to and I'm pretty sure I recall reading that they're going to put those corners on islands. Those corners going to have to cover. Yeah. They're going to have to cover.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree with you. But to your point about coaching, and I wanted to kind of touch on this because you made a tremendous point.
Mm-hmm.
Rhett Lashley is a really good offensive coordinator. But the way I see this game going, he's basically going to have to run that offense by himself, because I think Manny's going to have to be so wrapped up on the defensive side of the ball that he's not going to have a lot of head coaching that he's going to be doing. He may be walking the sidelines, but he's going to have to be, because it's all going to start up front. Because you said it to me a month ago, and you're right. They're going to try and run the ball right down their throats. They're going to try and pull off the North Carolina, get 5 yards a clip to protect the quarterback. They're not going to want him to sit back there and have to throw 25 passes or 30. They're going to want him to throw 12, 14 passes. ease them into the season. So I think that's going to be, I think basically Lashley's going to run that. And then we haven't even talked about special teams, and we'll get that in a minute, but I want to show you the weaknesses I see for Alabama that we can exploit. On Alabama's side of the ball, Robert, I wanted to get your thoughts. You got a true freshman left guard. Granted, the kid's huge, 6'6", 325, but he has 0 starts. And right tackle has 0 starts. That 5 there is 5 snaps. He doesn't have any starts. Mm-hmm. So and Latham has 0 snaps and 0, but he's a 5-star, 325. So, and then on the defensive side, I put Tutu Henry because the kid's a tremendously athletic, good linebacker, but he's coming in as a transfer portal guy, and he's got to learn the Alabama system in time for the first game and learn their defense. And I don't know, there may be some vulnerability there. And then Josh Jobe is that corner that they're talking about, because Battle, their safety, has got 26 games, and he's going to the NFL. A lot of them are going to the NFL, but he's a tough safety. And Alan Christopher is their best linebacker. So really the weakness on that side would be that one corner. So who do you match up, Robert, against Jobe? Jobe's like 6'2", 6'1", 6'2", 195 pounds. Which one of the receivers would you match up against him?
I would put Rambo, or either put Mike Harley out there. Either one. I think Rambo will give him some problems.
I think he will too. I agree with you.
I think he would give problems because I think that they're going to put their best corner on Harley. Just my opinion. I don't think they'll want to put Jobe on him, and that may be a weak link for them. To be honest with you, I think our receiving core has definitely improved over last year with the addition of Rambo from Oklahoma. So we will see. That is, I'm glad that you brought this up, because that is a weak link for him. It says Jobe is they said he's a senior, right?
Yes, he's a junior, actually.
Oh, okay.
He's a red shirt. Yeah, not a red shirt. He's a junior. But the thing with Jobe is that, yeah, you're absolutely right. But the guy that's been making a lot of waves in camp is Smith, who's supposed to be,
right.
And so they're actually talking about putting Harley in the slot, and they're going to have Smith on the outside, and they're going to have Rambo on the outside, and Harley in the slot, and so it will be interesting. I agree with you. What would you do, Robert, with the left guard and the right tackle? How would you attack those guys? Because we have 4 down linemen that we can use on those guys to go after them. How would you attack? And I agree with you. We have to blitz. We're not going to get there with the 4 linemen.
Yeah, I think that there, and that's on both sides.
Yes.
So you have 5 starts. So between them, they only have 5 starts. I think they're going to attack them. Regardless, they would have to blitz. Well, now that's definitely working in their favor. No starts, a freshman. But he's going to be ready. He's going to be good. He's a 5-star guy. As I've always said, and it depends on when he came into the program. If he came into the program in January, you sure he's not a red shirt?
No, he's not a red shirt. He's a true freshman.
So then the earliest he could have come in was January, right?
January, that's correct. So he probably did come in January. Probably got a spring camp in, and he's going into the fall. And he's gonna he's got to be really good, because I'm sure that they've got guys that are 4-stars sitting on the bench that could be serviceable, that have some experience. But it'll be very interesting to see. And now I want to ask you about special teams, because here's my other concern. When it comes to kicking field goals and punts and kicking the ball deep, we're good when it comes to the kickers. But we've had a horrible punt return team and a horrible kickoff return team in as far as getting good field position. And right now we have speed. They got a lot of freshmen that have come in. Brinson is one of them. that have come in, and he may be a kid that you see actually getting some wide receiver time as well. But that's my concern, is field position with Alabama. We've got to be able, when they do punt the ball, we've got to be able to bring it back. We've got to average at least 20 yards, 18 yards of return. Yep. And on a kickoff return, we've got to average at least 25, 28 yards of return. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Well, that's the recipe. What you just shared is that everything must work in our favor. So field position is going to be an absolute must. As you pointed out, I think our punting, game is going to be solid. I think our kicking game is going to be solid. Field goals, I think that's going to be solid. I think Manny's done a great job in making sure that those holes don't hurt us. I mean, we saw 3 years ago where we lost games by 2 points, 3 points, missed field goals, whatever the case may be. Those issues do not exist anymore. I'm just wondering, who are they going to put back there as a punt returner or as a kickoff returner? Because that is going to be the difference. I don't know who they're going to put back there.
I'll share with you what they've done in camp so far. So far, they've had Stevenson, the corner from Georgia. They've put him back there, and he's very quick. He's very fast. They've also put Smith, the wide receiver, back there to bring back some punts. Harley would be great if he could hold on to the ball. The problem that we had with him, actually, no, that wasn't Harley. That was Pope. Pope was the one that was dropping the ball in those returns.
How about the kid? How about the kid that everyone said that he's like
Respo?
Yeah, Respo.
The X-Men. Yeah, he's been back there too. He just doesn't have that breakaway speed. He's quick. He'll get you the 20 yards. He may be a little bit more, but he'll hold on to the ball. But you brought up a great point. We'll see what happens there. But I do have another question for you. Leonard. There's a lot of talk in camp that Leonard has shown up. He was in the January camp, and now he's in the fall camp, and that he's shown up with a college-sized body at 275 pounds, 285 pounds, a defensive tackle, and that his quickness and his feet, because he's got basketball-type skills, they're talking about the possibility that he may get quite a few snaps at defensive end to put pressure on the quarterback or swing him around. I don't know if we're going to see that. And they're saying it could happen as early as Alabama, because he's a 5-star. And I don't know if you know this, Robert, but he was the top 2 or top 3 lineman in the country. Mm-hmm. So he's got a lot of pedigree out of Palmetto High School. So as a matter of fact, I think we've got him here. Let me just take a quick look. No, he's not here. But they also, by the way, I just want to share this with you too. They also mentioned that Ford has come back with a impressive build, and the same thing with Jordan Miller, the defensive tackles, and they're expecting them to contribute quite a bit. And at corner, we've got a lot of defensive backs, so I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah. It's getting to the point. I mean, what are we, about 3 weeks out?
Yep. It's September 4th.
Yep.
September 4th at 3:30.
So this is where we're at, Frankie. All right. Must play the game, right? The speculations are eventually going to be over. We're going to get to the point where they're going to line up and they're going to go at it. And I know all the Hurricane fans out there who is watching, or maybe not watching, but are anticipating this game. When it hit the schedule, I guess the announcement of this game was like almost 5 years ago. And the day that it was announced, everyone's been looking forward to this game. Because Alabama has been everything that we thought they would be during those 5 years while we were waiting. I don't think it's going to be a surprise for any players. Players have been waiting for this game. The anticipation feels like that when we played that Notre Dame game. I think you remember that Notre Dame game, which was, it was an exciting thing, right? They were the top dogs and we did what we had to do. how this is going to turn out, I think we'll have another episode between now and then, and we'll give our predictions at that time. But it's going to be a good game. I don't think Alabama's going to blow Miami out. If Miami was to win, if Alabama was to win, they're not going to blow Miami out. If Miami is to win, they're not going to blow Alabama out. It's going to be a fight. I don't think that the spread, well, we're going to hold that until later, right?
Right. We're going to hold that. We got a couple more weeks, Robert. Hold that.
We got a couple more weeks.
Yeah, we got a couple more weeks, and we got a couple more videos to go.
Yeah, so we're not going to put that out there just yet.
No. And yeah, we'll wait for that. But I do want to preface that you and I are going to be watching that game together.
Yeah.
And what I want to do is I think we need to focus on those guys that we highlighted early on to see how they respond, because there's no doubt that those are going to be the targets on both sides of the ball to see what happens, because it's going to be interesting. And to your point, Robert, the coaching is a major deal. I'm going to be honest with you. I feel very confident with the new hires with T-Rob and DVD and the new guys in Aristide that they brought on the defensive side of the ball, and Jeff Simpson, the defensive line coach. I feel very confident that now, does that mean that they're going to be able to match up with Alabama coaching today? No. We've got to be real. But that also means that give them another year, and they have a tremendous group together. And you and I spoke about this when they brought T-Rob. Why would T-Rob come? I kind of got a sneaking suspicion that the reason he came is because the deal was you bring in the players, you coach them up, and at the end of the year, after I get the defense situated, you'll be D coordinator. I think that's what's coming with T-Rob.
You've been saying that. You've been saying that from day one. So
to me, that's exciting, because that's the carrot for T-Rob. Mm-hmm. And T-Rob's done a phenomenal job. The incoming class of defensive backs, we've only got 8 recruits that have committed, but they're hard commits. Those defensive backs, we've got 4 highly recruited 4-star corners and safeties that are coming into this class, along with 2 5-stars that may be coming as well. So he's loading up. And I didn't know this. This is going to sound crazy to you. I found out that teams like Alabama and Clemson, do you know how many DBs they're loading up at that position? You know how many DBs they have at that position?
How many?
16 to 20 players that are interchangeable safeties and corners.
Wow.
Because of the passing attack, the passing game. It's outrageous. I'm excited about that point. So that being said, we're going to circle back and we'll go over that. But I wanted to thank you for the analysis, and we're going to save the game time predictions for later, and we'll keep watching what's going on in camp. But I do want to ask you, do you think that in the Alabama game, we know Cam Harris is going to get the start and the nod, and we know Knighton is going to go in and out of that game and play a little. Do you think that Chaney might be right? Do you think that they're actually going to put some of the freshmen into that game a little bit, or no?
I think with Chaney in the situation that he's in, and my understanding is a shoulder injury. Shoulder injuries for running backs are very tricky.
Yes.
Because they, use their pads a lot. I think Thad is going to see some time. I really do. Because who are the other running backs?
Yeah.
Cody Brown.
Cody Brown.
Yeah.
And Thad. That's it.
So I'm really hoping that Chaney can play, but one hit and he's, you hit him the right way, because that shoulder, he could be out. But we'll see. I've always been a Harris fan. I know that I know we've been at games and we've sat side by side, and we've said, well, why didn't he cut up? He's always trying to bounce it to the outside. But I think last year you saw him kind of change his running style a little bit more than from the previous years, right? I think that as the year progressed, you saw him running a little bit differently, right? And I firmly believe that he had an injury coming out of that Louisville game after that one touchdown, where that leg seemed to, when he slid, it kind of jammed up into his hip. And I don't think he was right for about 3 or 4 games, right? So I've always been a Harris fan. I think that he's a good runner, strong runner. and very athletic. So if he can get going and stay healthy, then they should be able to rotate two, throw, Thad in, throw what, just to get some air into the other guys. But I really hope that Chain is able to get better and contribute in his first game.
No, now, I agree.
Here's a question for you, though. Here's before we disconnect. Do you believe in your heart of hearts, soul of souls, that King is ready?
I saw some video, and I have to bring this up to you on Inside the U, where he took off. Again, this was in shoulder pads and shorts. Okay, so this was where he took off and he planted on his right foot and broke right through the hole at 20 yards. And I know that the coaching staff and everybody was aghast because they were, and then I saw the press conference with Manny Diaz, and he was giddy at the conversation of D'Eriq King. I think he's 100%. I do. I do. Now, does that mean that I think he's 100% healed. I'm not saying he's 100% as far as being able to run as fast as he used to run. I think he can cut and make the lateral moves. He's not even going to wear a brace. In that press conference, they asked Manny Diaz, and they asked him, Rhett Lashley, do you agree with King's assessment that he doesn't need a brace? If he doesn't want to wear one, he doesn't have to. So I don't know. I think this is a make or break for him. Obviously, his senior year, his last year. He's an NFL type prospect, and the stars are aligning for us in this regard. D'Eriq, you've got a lot of seniors that their future career is on the line in this game. This is the biggest game, the biggest showcase game on college television on September. This is a big deal. And they've got to be mentally prepared and focused. And the senior leadership is a lot stronger than it's been in a long time. And they have to be focused, because if they have a great game, win or lose, okay, if they lose by 10 points, 7 points, whatever, and they follow it up with a fantastic season, these guys will be drafted. But if they have a terrible game like they did against North Carolina, they're not going to make an NFL roster. So I think that the stars are aligning for that. I do think D'Eriq King is ready for it, and I think he's mentally probably the warrior of the entire team. And I tell you what, I wouldn't want to be facing him on the other side of the ball because of his high IQ and his athletic ability and his ability to throw the ball and his guts. D'Eriq King is a really tough guy. But to your point, if I was Miami, I'd make sure that there were a lot of snaps going to Tyler Van Dyke, TVD. I'd make sure that he's ready in case something happens. But they're going to start him, Robert. They're not holding him back.
All right. So here's another question for you. Assuming that he is 100%, what do you think is the major difference? I'm looking at the Canes. The major difference of the Canes who played Clemson, what was that, last year?
Yes.
Okay. And the Canes, they'll be playing Alabama. And I got to be honest with you, I put Clemson and Alabama, they as far as skilled players, coaching, being, in the top 3, top 4 programs in the country. Here we go again. What do you see to be the primary difference? Because I have my thoughts of what the primary differences are between the team that played Clemson last year and the Canes that are playing Alabama this year.
Well, you're not going to like my answer.
No, hey, put it out there.
I think they're a year older, more mature, been in the weight room. I think the offensive line is healthier than it's been, even though we've got 2 guys out. Campbell is out and Jalali Clark. But Campbell's going to be out for a while, but Clark is going to be back. And they've got a good rotation through the transfer portal. They brought some O-line. So the O-line is sturdier. The O-line was very weak back then. But I have to tell you, on the D side of the line, the losing Phillips and Roche, I mean, that is a devastating blow to that defensive line. And my biggest concern, to be honest with you, is the defensive ends. That's my biggest concern with the defensive ends. So let me see if I can get this out of our picture here. But the defensive ends is my concern, and my other concern is the linebackers. You've got to take Antonio Brinson. You got to take Arroyo, the wide receiver, and not the wide receiver, the tight end. You got to put him in the rotation. I think you've got to take some big chances with some freshmen, and then I think you really got to lean on Chaney and you got to lean on Knighton, because you didn't have enough last year with just Cam Harris. And now Cam Harris has changed. Cam Harris, everything that they're saying about in camp is it's stop, pivot, and go. He's planting his foot in the ground and shooting the gaps. Remember, I used to hesitate, and I have to agree with you. I didn't get a chance to mention that to you, but I agree with you wholeheartedly. He was injured. There's no doubt about that. So that wasn't the Cam Harris. So I expect a completely different player to show up against Alabama. And Cam Harris is solid. I mean, he's built. And by the way, they're saying that he's actually quicker than he was last year and faster, which I believe. So I think you're going to see, but I don't think Cam Harris or any running back can get 25 carries against Alabama or 30 carries against Alabama and not come out, I mean, just beat up really bad. So I think they're going to have to split the carries. But to your point, are we better than last year? I think we have the potential to be a 10 or 15% better. Is that good enough to beat an Alabama or a Clemson? I don't think so. Is it good enough to beat a North Carolina? Absolutely. Is it good enough to win the Coastal? For sure. Is it good? Well, let me preface that. Well, yeah, to win the Coastal, yes. But to win the ACC, probably not, because you've got to go through Clemson. But I think they've got, and they've got to do it this year because they're going to lose a lot of players. But they've built up depth. The other difference is we didn't have the depth in the defensive backfield either. We didn't have T-Rod. We didn't have the coaches. The coaches are, I think the defensive side of the ball has improved. But I'm not convinced that the D-line, even with Jeff Simpson, and the linebackers have fixed the problem that we saw against North Carolina.
You don't think so?
I'm not.
You don't think so?
Yeah.
Wow.
You don't think so?
I will hope so, because I mean, there was enough there that it was glaring.
Yes.
It was, I mean, now if they didn't fix it, if you're true, I mean, if you're correct, Alabama's going to do the exact same thing that North Carolina did, and they're going to see if we fixed it. They're going to find out early if we fix that.
Well, what was it?
I surely hope so.
Well, what's the difference in our D-line and our linebacker core, personnel-wise, last year versus this year? Last year we had Phillips. We don't have Phillips this year. Okay.
The difference is this. Excuse me.
Sure.
The difference is this. It happened. All right. You should be looking at that tape over and over and over again. And your players are looking at it. Okay, here we're crashing down. We should be, boxing that in. Now, I did see that a lot. Those experienced defensive ends, once the game started looking like it was getting out of control, they were crashing in the line. The running backs will get sucked up into the line. Then they bounced it outside. And the D ends weren't there. All right. If nothing else, he is playing that tape over and say, this will not happen again. We should not, at least in my lifetime, ever see two running backs run for almost 600 yards. That cannot happen, man. No way. I mean, that has never happened to a Miami team ever. And if ever we see that again in our lifetime again.
Well, it goes to my point. I don't think it was just scheme, and I don't think it was just scheme and game planning. I think physically we got beat up front. And my concern is, I'm not saying that they didn't fix it. My concern is I won't believe it till I see it. And here's my issue. The personnel stayed the same. This is why I'm pushing for guys like Leonard, okay, to go in. You got a 285-pound, granted he's a freshman, and to your Roberts rules, which I agree with, you don't want to put guys, the big boys up, unless it's an offensive, even offensive line. You want to put the big boys up there because they're not physically ready. But if he can at least give you some snaps at the end, because my concern is we had good DNs when we got smashed.
Yes.
I mean, and do you think, is there anybody on our defensive side of the ball that is comparable to Phillips or Rousseau?
No. But okay. A game like that doesn't happen very often, right? It wasn't like, I mean, it is not like you need superstar defensive ends to prevent that from happening. We've played better teams with better running backs, and they have not put up those type of numbers on us before.
Right.
Okay. I don't think we'll see that again. I really don't. I think that if there was a coaching video made for Miami, that's it. If they were like buying these coaching videos, you don't need to buy any more coaching videos. Your video is the coaching video now, all over the country. All right.
I agree. But to your point, again, I think the problem with that game also was the coaching, the D coordinator, I even forget his name now, wasn't aggressive and didn't call run blitzes, didn't do any. I mean, there was no halftime. That's what I wanted to talk about. Before we finish, I do want to touch on this. You brought this up many times, okay, which is true. Halftime adjustments, okay?
Oh, my goodness. There were none.
There were none. But to that point, we're going up against Alabama, and you can bet the house that if they've got to make halftime adjustments, it's going to be done, and it's going to be done quick and efficiently. The question is, are we able to match it? Now you've got a head coach who's spending 85% of the time on the sideline on the defensive side of the ball, because that's the biggest concern. So how effective are they going to be at doing halftime adjustments? Because we could play a good half of football. I mean, we could play, and that's another thing too. We have to get off to a fast start. So I want you to finish it up with 3 comments. 1, let me know what your thoughts are on the fast start. Let me know what your thoughts are on the halftime adjustments, and let me know what your thoughts are on a strong finish. Those 3 things.
Fast start.
Adjustments, halftime, and
adjustment.
Strong finish. Right.
Okay. And strong finish. Okay. So I'm just going to dip my toe back into the water, the swimming pool we just came out of. All right. The difference between the Miami who played, and I'm just going to make this one point, the Miami team that played Clemson and the Miami team that's playing Alabama. The new coaching staff, Lashley and King, that was their first year of COVID. Did not have the time to break in the new offense. They didn't have spring ball. Remember, all that was shut down. They only had August. And now they're just coming into the program. Now they're just now implementing this stuff, right? And I'm going to close on that comment with this. That, to me, is the big delta between these 2 games. They've played a full season with King and Lashley. They now know one another. They trust one another. They, that if King plays, is going to be the big difference in the Clemson game versus this game. A full year under the offensive coordinator. They've had spring ball. Now they're going into so I'll get out of that pool and get into, and we'll close up with these last comments. Fast start, absolutely. Fast start doesn't mean jumping out 21-0. Okay, so let me just say, from a quantitative standpoint, it doesn't mean that. The fast start means that you're not getting blown out of the water. You're taking advantage of things. You're punting when you have to. You got 3 points here. You hold them to 7. You go into the second quarter, and it's going along, right? It's in control. It's a fast, in control start. You're hanging with them, right? Some people think the fast start means that you're winning by 21 points. No, a fast start to me means that you're under control. You're not making mistakes. You're moving the ball. Yeah, you're punting, but you're in control. No turnovers, no stupid penalties, none of that. That's a fast start to me. Some people will say, well, no, that's just playing good ball. Well, look at when we played Clemson. Look at we played with a lot of these teams. Early mistakes, turnovers, blown coverage. You look at that Florida game, what was it, 3 years ago? Slow start. Then we started picking it up, before we know it, we kind of lost some momentum. Adjustments, mandatory. Must be able to make the adjustments, right? As far as Maddie being the defensive coordinator, and he's going to be able to. The positive side is that he's going to have an experienced defensive line coach. He's going to have a very experienced offensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. It's going to be coaching by committee, right? But the call is going to be on him. We're going for it. Okay, they go for it, or whatever okay they be, or we're not going for it. We're going to kick a field goal. He's going to be making those calls, but he's going to be relying on those guys. What do you see? He's going to be taking in their advice, what they're talking, because those guys are experienced. So I don't think it'll be as bad as that. If he had all new players, new coaching staff, fairly young coaching staff, there'd been a problem. So I think that the adjustments will be made. I think he'll be able to have some good consultants on this side with the defensive line guy as well as Lashley. Strong finish. Another friend of mine and I was talking about this. A strong finish is this, and this is either way. This is either way. Miami's up by 7, or Alabama's up by 10. Boom. It means that you're playing to win. You're not holding on. You're not, holding on to that 7-point lead. If they're up 10, you're playing aggressive. I think the strong finish is going to be how well they go after that win. And that's being aggressive. That strong finish is going to have a direct link to a strong start. The elements that I talked about before of how I define a fast start. No turnovers, being smart, keeping things close, being aggressive. The way you start that game, you end that game. And we've seen this in the past, right? They played laxy days ago. Yeah, boom, boom. Then the last 7 minutes, everything is like a sense of urgency now. They're no huddle. They're doing all. Do that all game. Every play is a sense of urgency. Every game is a must. Press. Those are my thoughts. Fast start, adjustment, and strong finish.
Well, that was a strong finish there, brother. And I agree with you 100%. So I want the viewers that are watching this to like our video and subscribe to our channel. Right down at the bottom, hit the button for the alerts as well. And Frankly Speaking Canes will be back too, and I'll be bringing Robert back via Kane so that we can sit down and talk about it in the weeks to come. God bless you guys. Have a wonderful day. And listen, fantastic insights, Robert. I really appreciate it. Look forward to doing it again. Have a great day, my friend.
All right, Frankie. Later. Bye.